Heading: Life Cycle Analysis (LCA). First point: Life Cycle Analysis (LCA) is a systematic method used to evaluate the environmental impacts of a product, process, or service throughout its entire life cycle. Second point: it studies the use of raw materials, energy, water, emissions, waste generation, and disposal at every stage of the product's life. Third point: the main objective is to reduce environmental impacts and promote sustainable development. Heading: 5 phases of a product life cycle. Side heading 1: Raw material extraction. First point: natural resources such as minerals, petroleum, wood, and water are extracted. Second point: this stage consumes energy and natural resources and may cause environmental degradation. Side heading 2: Manufacturing and processing. First point: raw materials are converted into finished products. Second point: energy, water, and chemicals are used during production. Side heading 3: Transportation and distribution. First point: finished products are transported from factories to warehouses and customers. Second point: transportation consumes fuel and produces air pollution and greenhouse gases. Side heading 4: Use stage. First point: consumers use the product for its intended purpose. Second point: during use, the product may consume electricity, fuel, or water and may produce emissions. Side heading 5: End of life stage. First point: the product reaches the end of its useful life. Second point: it may be reused, recycled, recovered, or disposed of in landfills. Heading: Life cycle approaches. Side heading 1: Cradle to grave. First point: this approach assesses the product from raw material extraction, cradle, to final disposal, grave. Second point: it includes extraction, manufacturing, transportation, use, and disposal. Third point: it is the most commonly used life cycle assessment approach. Side heading 2: Cradle to gate. First point: this approach evaluates the product only from raw material extraction to the factory gate. Second point: it excludes the use phase and final disposal. Third point: it is mainly used by manufacturers to assess production impacts. Side heading 3: Gate to grave. First point: this approach begins after the product leaves the factory. Second point: it includes transportation, product use, and final disposal. Third point: it helps evaluate impacts after manufacturing. Side heading 4: Cradle to cradle. First point: this approach promotes recycling and reuse instead of disposal. Second point: Waste from one product becomes the raw material for another product. Third point, it supports a circular economy and sustainable development. Heading: Life Cycle Assessment Regulations. Side heading 1. Purpose of regulations. First point, LCA regulations provide guidelines for conducting life cycle assessments in a consistent and scientific manner. Second point, they help organizations measure and reduce environmental impacts. Side heading 2, ISO standards. First point, ISO 14040 provides the principles and framework for life cycle assessment. Second point, ISO 14044 specifies the requirements and guidelines for conducting an LCA. Side heading 3, Importance of LCA regulations. First point, ensure accurate and standardized environmental assessments. Second point, improve product design and resource efficiency. Third point, support environmental management and sustainable development. Fourth point, help organizations comply with environmental policies and international standards.